Welcome to the Sunday morning worship service of the DuPage Unitarian Universalist Church in Naperville, Illinois for January 22nd, 2023. I am Caroline Bailey, a member of your Board of Trustees. We are so glad you are here, whether you are present in the sanctuary this morning or watching remotely. It is good to be together. We welcome you to our church and invite you to get to know us better after the service. To keep us all as safe as possible, we ask that you remain masked. Those of us on the chancel will remove our masks to speak from the microphone. As Unitarian Universalists, we hold that there are many paths to truth and meaning, and we support one another on our spiritual and religious journeys while holding ourselves in covenant. The rich liberal legacy of Unitarian Universalism is rooted in our faith's 7 principles. These principles guide our faithful actions as we work to transform the world to be more just and equitable. You may find these principles listed on our website or on the wall in our social hall. Whoever you are, wherever you are on life's journey, wherever you are in the world, you are welcome here. I invite you to turn to someone you didn't come with and greet them with a wave, a good morning greeting.
In the future, do that before you do the
Well, you certainly didn't need any prompting to greet your neighbors today. So, we would, however, invite you after the service to a brainstorming session for Auction 2023, Superheroes, which will take place the first weekend in November. It is, of course, not too early to start planning. Provide feedback on some ideas we have and share your own. Can you help with items entry in the software? Help with food, communication, setup or tear down? There'll be a chili lunch with meat and veggie options in the Learning Center today after the service, and then please brainstorm. And our second announcement today is regarding nominations for special collection. Each year, our special offerings team solicits, reviews, and chooses nominees for a yearly lineup of local not-for-profit organizations as recipients of our monthly special collection. We are now beginning the process for the 2023-24 church year, and we invite you to think about organizations where you volunteer, use their services, or you just know they do a good work. We are asking that you fill out and submit a nominating form online, which is available on the Here's What's Happening page of the DuPage UU Church website. Or you may fill out a paper copy, which is available in the church office. Place the completed form in the special offerings mailbox or scan and email it to specialofferings@DuPageUUchurch.org. We look forward to learning about organizations you think deserve our support and learning about the impact they have on your lives and our community. Thank you.
I lead this chalice today for our fourth Unitarian Universalist principle. We believe in a free and responsible search for truth and meaning.
Good morning. Our call to worship is from Reverend Kristen Harper. The breath of life is not mine alone. I do not wish to breathe another breath if it is not shared with others. The breath of life is not mine alone. I brought myself to be with you, hoping that by inhaling the compassion, the courage, the hope found here, I can exhale the fear, the selfishness, the separateness that I keep so close to my skin. I cannot live another moment, at least not one of joy, unless you and I find our oneness somewhere among each other, somewhere between the noise, somewhere within the silence of the next breath. Come, let us worship together. Please join me in singing hymn number 389, Gathered Here. Please rise as you are willing and able.
Struggle and the power. together to affirm our relationship with one another, our shared commitment to our Unitarian Universalist principles, and to our DuPage UU church community. We recognize our agency and our connective power, and we accept our responsibility to be bold and courageous in relationship with each other, so that we might transform ourselves and the world.
Our vision of beloved community is rooted in the relationships that we have with each other, our world, and creation. Each week we share our joys and concerns, both aloud and unspoken. This week we celebrate with some of our siblings in the world to celebrate a happy Lunar New Year. Our hearts are with Kaya Iverson, who is in the DC area today. Her mother passed away very suddenly on Tuesday evening. She was a beloved mother, a nurse, a former professor, and her presence will be deeply missed by the Iverson family. Please hold Kaya, her brother, her sisters in your hearts, as well as her wife, Susan. Today also marks the 50th anniversary of Roe v. Wade. It also marks the fact that while we made progress, we are also so far behind. And I don't know about you, but my heart is heavy that reproductive rights in the past year has taken a turn in the opposite direction. Let us work, whether it's writing campaigns or voting campaigns, let us work for the work towards justice and love. Let us hold those in states who have completely reversed abortion rights in our hearts and hold them in love. Even when the cares of the world weigh heavy on us, we find joy in our connections. We know we are not alone. Please join me in a moment of prayer and meditation. Spirit of kindness and compassion, we come from different places to this sacred ground of communal caring. We are enriched by the company of each other and drawn closer to the heart of love in this time of service. Touch this gathering with tenderness so that we may be refreshed anew by the grace that encompasses us. Spirit of love, expand our vision with faith so we may always remember the unending circle of life and death and love reborn that surrounds us with kindness and compassion. Spirit of life, bless this community that shares so generously with their hands and their hearts. Keep us ever mindful of the powerful possibilities of love as we walk through all the seasons of our lives. Amen.
Merry snowy morning. I'm delighted. I wish there were more, but that's me. It's time to gather. This month, our theme is the path to finding our center. And today I have a story about a journey. The story is The Legend of the Golden Snail by Graham Bass. The legend of the Golden Snail was Wilbur's favorite story. He imagined the golden snail sailing through the magical realm to its home in the Spiral Isles. And he listened with wide eyes to the part where the grand enchanter banished it to the ends of the earth. There it was doomed to remain, so the legend went, until a new master came to claim it. Wilbur always made his mother read that part twice. Wilbur decided to find the golden snail. He collected all the equipment he would need for the voyage. "Behold the grand enchanter," he cried. "I'm off to roam the oceans back in 100 years. "I made you a captain's hat," his mother said. And so Wilbur set sail for the ends of the earth. As he turned his little boat into the breeze, he recited the magical spell from the legend. "Snailing ship, rise and shine. Hoist your sails and trim them fine. Taste once more the sticky brine, for with this spell I make you mine." "Be sure to wear your hat," called his mother. He came to a bush of blossoming butterflies. They were waiting in the sun. "I don't have time to stop," said the grand enchanter. "I'm off to the ends of the earth to find the golden snail." But he looked again at the butterfly buds, and they seemed so hot and thirsty. He saw a coral island and sailed into the bay. All at once, the island transformed into a monstrous sea creature. "Take that!" cried the grand enchanter, prodding the monster in its weak spot. But then he saw that it was tangled in a net, hardly a fair fight. "Hold still," he commanded. A motley crew of earwig pirates aboard a bulbous bottle boat were catching unlucky lanternfish and stealing their light bulbs. The grand enchanter considered what to do. Perhaps he should join the pirates and then betray them and take the treasures for himself. But it was late, and he had to press on for the ends of the earth. So he decided on a quicker and more courageous plan. And Wilbur sailed on, a little downhearted. He suspected he hadn't made a very convincing grand enchanter so far. He decided he would have to do better. But that afternoon, his little boat drifted into the dreadful doldrums. Some newly blossomed butterflies brought the wind back. He became ensnared in a slithering sea, and a grateful friend arrived just in time. A windstorm blew him into the maze of madness, and a glowing avenue of lights guided him safely onward. Eventually, Wilbur came to the ends of the earth, and a golden shell lay gleaming on the sand. "Oh," he said, "I thought it would be bigger." But Wilbur was determined to be a proper grand enchanter and roam the oceans for 100 years, maybe even 1,000. So he held up his arms and recited the magic verse. "Snailing ship, rise and shine. Hoist your sails and trim them fine." And then the earth shook, and the sky rumbled, and the golden snail emerged from its slumber. It was bigger, much bigger. And Wilbur's eyes grew wide, but he kept his nerve. Taste once more the salty brine, for with this spell I make you mine. And the magic spell was complete, and the mighty beast sprouted masts and sails and a rudder, and the snailing ship, it turned to its new master and waited for his command. And the grand enchanter raised his arms, but then he saw the heavy chains and the cruel collar with its bell. And there, at the ends of the earth, after all his long years of journeying, Wilbur realized that he didn't want to be a grand enchanter after all. And he thought back to the legend, and then he took off his hat and said, I command you to take me to the Spiral Isles. And the golden snail surged toward the crashing waves, and Wilbur tied his little boat to the snail's stern and leaped aboard. To his amazement, the mighty beast reared back on its keel and lifted up into the air. And they soared up, 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 through the clouds and emerged into a stunning new world, an ocean in the sky. And they swept down to the Spiral Isles and dropped anchor in a sheltered bay of swirling mist. I've brought you home, said Wilbur as he stepped ashore, and he put on his hat again. I hereby release you from your enchantment. And the golden snail snorted in delight as the chains, collar, and bell fell away. And the rope holding Wilbur's battered boat snapped. And there was a flash of light, and with the triumphant trumpeting, the golden snail was gone. Wilbur was alone on a cloud, with no way to get home. But something was happening to his boat. The golden bell had hooked itself over the bowsprit, a parting gift. And as he watched, the little boat began to glow, and it turned to a solid gold, and it had wings. As he headed homeward, Wilbur thought about his adventures and smiled. He knew he hadn't been a very good grand enchanter, but he was probably the best gallant captain there ever was. And the captain's cat purred in agreement. The end. This story is about being true to yourself. Wilbur sets out to sea with one goal, but his ambition changes as the story goes on. What might this suggest about our own lives? And while it is great to have goals, it is good to stick to them firmly, no matter what. Is it good to stick to them firmly, no matter what the situation? Let's sing to the children as they go to the religious education classes.
Giving of our treasure is how we reciprocate the many gifts we are given by this community. Your contribution supports the programs and operations of DuPage UU Church. Giving is also how we live our values in this world. Each month, we share our offerings with an organization nominated by the congregation and selected by the special offerings team. The January special offering will benefit DUC's SMILE project. The SMILE project was designed to provide mentoring and work experience to high school students who are not at the top of their class, nor in the bottom quarter, but those who could use encouragement and help to prepare for entering the workforce after high school. The offering is given and received in a spirit of generosity and gratitude.
Al respirar, respiro paz. Al exhalar, exhalo amor.
When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, I breathe out love. Breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. Al respirar, respiro paz. Al exhalar, exhalo amor. 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 Al respirar, respiro paz. Al exhalar, exhalo amor.
Please rise as you're willing and able and join us in singing hymn number 352, Find a Stillness.
I don't know about you, but that video from our music director, Francisco Ruiz, I could listen to that all day long. It's so powerful and calming. It's beautiful. When Albert Einstein was 5 years old, his father gifted him with a compass. The young Albert was fascinated by the way that the compass functioned. No matter which way he moved or turned, the needle always pointed the same direction. Years later, Einstein wrote, "That experience made a deep and lasting impression on me. Something deeper had to be hidden behind these things." I love that Einstein found his life's purpose in the form of a compass. Pun fully intended that he found his life's course through a compass. This month's theme of finding our center made me think deeply about my own center, my own compass. The story of Einstein and his compass made me ask, how do I find my way? What is my true north? As a minister, I believe that when we speak about finding our center, our compass, what we are actually asking is, what is it that I live by that guides my life? And I believe that the answer to this question is that we are looking for our faith. Now, faith has a word for some of us that includes some baggage. For those of us who grew up in other religious traditions, faith often meant believing in some supernatural being or event, and that no longer rings true for many of us. But that's not the only definition of faith. The word faith comes from the Latin word fides, which means confidence or trust in something or someone. Different faith traditions have taken fides and applied it to their context, and I actually think we can learn something from them. For the biblical apostle Paul, faith is hope in what cannot be seen. Now, obviously, he was referring not only to Jesus, but to the act of Jesus' death as one of salvation. But what the Apostle Paul gives us is the wisdom that faith is not something that can be grasped. It's something we know and trust, even apprehensively, as true, that guides our actions and thoughts, even if we cannot see them. In Sanskrit, the language of Hinduism and Buddhism, the word for faith is Shraddha. It literally means where the heart rests. The insight this offers is that faith is not something found in the mind, but in the heart. That's a different kind of knowing, a rooted knowing based in hope. Faith, however, is not something that just happens to someone. That is, one day you stumble upon it as you go through your life. It's something we cultivate. I think that's written in the word Shraddha. We can't just rest our heart anywhere. We don't want our heart resting on a marble plinth, cold, lifeless, and immovable. We also don't want our heart resting on the water where it might drown, be overwhelmed, and lost. We need to be intentional about where our heart rests. Early on into my membership at a Unitarian Universalist congregation, I found myself in conversation with a conservative Christian family member about our faith. This person asked how UUs could find the difference between right and wrong with no shared understanding of God, of sin, of hell, and of heaven. Essentially, they wanted to know where my faith, my heart, rested, but also where my faith community's heart rested. Now, I can't remember what I said to that person. It was probably snarky, if I'm honest. But I can answer that question now. Our Unitarian Universalist 7 principles hold at the center our true north, our heart's resting place. And I would name that resting place to be the flourishing of people and creation. That is, our shared true north is that people are good, that we good people are connected to all that is around us, that we can do good things, that when we harm others, we are not doing good things that allow for flourishing, and that we can change that behavior. That is, transform, and through that transformation, we become who we are meant to be as people. That is, we flourish. So right and wrong is not defined for Unitarian Universalists based on a shared idea of a deity who tells us what is right and wrong. Rather, right and wrong is guided by our belief that we humans and creation, while certainly imperfect, are meant to flourish, and that anything that does not allow for flourishing is wrong. This deep understanding of the flourishing of humanity is my version of Einstein's "what's behind the compass." It's my understanding of where our hearts rest. For Einstein, his compass led him to a lifelong search for scientific answers, rooted in the belief that he could find them. For me, behind the compass is a lifelong search for the building blocks of flourishing, justice, and love. So when I think about my compass, my true north, my heart's resting place, I think about people and creation. How do the actions and decisions I make impact the people around me, whether they are stranger or friend? And I think that this is where I had a real aha moment. You see, if our faith calls us to flourishing, it cannot be individualistic. It is automatically collective. And we teach this. From our earliest children's education classes, we teach that each person, each life, all creation matters. My search for flourishing is our search for flourishing, written into the bones of our religious tradition. Faith cannot be stumbled across. Faith is the compass which we cultivate in our lives and those of our children. This is why we fight for Roe v. Wade to be returned to law. It is vital to our flourishing as people that reproductive rights are respected and honored. Flourishing as our faith, then, becomes the thing the Apostle Paul tells us, that which is hoped for. A community of love, a beloved community which we may only ever see glimpses of, especially when we see setbacks like those against reproductive rights, but which we believe in nonetheless. In our time together story today, Wilbur's compass was driving him on a grand adventure to become a grand enchanter. And yet, his compass also guided him to others' flourishing. Yeah, that meant a sacrifice of a personal dream for himself, but it created a new dream as well, one of a gallant captain. Wilbur's heart compass knew deeply that flourishing for himself meant flourishing for all. Our Unitarian Universalist compass tells us that the flourishing of community and creation is what should guide us. It's the force behind our compass pointing due north. For our congregation here, it means that we need one another. We need each of us invested in the flourishing not only of ourselves, but of each other, of our children and our future. Our compass here at this church is the flourishing of our community, and we articulate that flourishing through our mission statement, which says we gather as an inclusive community to grow in character, mind, and spirit, and transform the world toward fairness, love, and compassion. We also articulate it through our 7UU principles, but articulation is only the first part. It's actually the embodiment, the action of our principles and mission that drive us north, that hold us steady in pursuit of our center. Many, many years after Einstein received his compass, like decades later, Einstein remarked to Werner Heisenberg, "You know, in the West, we've built a big ship, and in it, it has all the comforts. But actually, the one thing it doesn't have is a compass, and that's why it doesn't know where it's going." I find that to be a little too true, maybe. It's a great assessment of our current state of events. But you know what else the statement says? That our church community is needed more than ever before. Our children need to find their heart's resting place. We need to find our heart's resting place, and that depends upon the flourishing of our community and our world. We must have faith in ourselves, in our ability to transform, and in our ability to transform our greater community and the world. If you attended the workshop that Ann Ariano and I ran last week Sunday, which you can find on February 8th, we're running a Zoom session on it, you will have heard what I'm about to say before. We find ourselves in a particular moment in history, not only because of the lack of a compass, but because we don't have anyone even looking for a compass. For decades, the Pew Research Center has tracked the falling numbers of members and participants in religious traditions. While Unitarian Universalist numbers have not fallen as drastically as other religious traditions, our numbers still have fallen. And the pandemic has accelerated this enormously. Attendance and membership has fallen more drastically in the past 2 years than in the last 2 decades across the world. People are asking themselves why they should go to church. What makes a church relevant to their lives, especially when that church prescribes that where a heart must rest may be in places that deny reality or deny our flourishing. This might be scary news, but I actually think it's exciting news. And an exciting time to be a Unitarian Universalist. You see, our compass, our guide that tells us that the flourishing of humanity and creation is rooted in the real world problems of the world. Our compass, our true north, knows how to adapt and evolve. We offer a way forward, however difficult it might be, towards transforming our world into a place where justice and love reign. We offer a compass, a heart's resting place that declares that we might not see what we hope for in our lifetimes, but we believe it's possible anyway and worth working towards even so. In a time when the ship of Western culture of America seems adrift, we offer the hope of a compass, a true north that is relevant to this world, this moment, and this time. I came to you all as your minister because I believe you know this, that you wish to flourish and bring that flourishing to the world. I am honored and delighted that we get to embark on this journey together. in the floundering ship of America, we can provide a compass. Let's shout that news from the mountaintops. Are you with me? Yes. Let us do this together. May it be so. Please rise as you're willing and able to sing hymn number 16, "'Tis a Gift to Be Simple." As we leave this place, let us remember our true north, where our hearts rest, our faith in our future flourishing together. May it be so.
Please join me. We extinguish the light of this chalice, but not the light in our hearts. Until we meet again, may the warmth of our community